Mimi kwa majina naitwa Francis Mnyanga Papa. This is my home, and unfortunately, as you can see, I am disabled. I've been down for more than 10 years, actually close to 15 years. I have a certificate of disability, people living with disability. When I went down, before I went down, I had met a friend of mine by the name Smee Joseph, who is an electrician. And Smee Joseph, actually he came here and asked me to assist him financially to set up a company. When I asked him what kind of company, he explained to me that he wanted to generate electricity and that there was that potential. There was a river which runs from Mount Elgon down to Zoya, and that river had enough water to be used to generate electricity. So he convinced me, in short, and I agreed to join him in partnership. What I didn't know at that time is that I was just going to be one of the partners. I ended up becoming one of the 7 partners that Smee had approached with the same request. And so we therefore started developing a company to generate electricity from runoff water in a river coming from Mount Elgon. I hope that answers your question.
Yes. That is good enough. You've talked about 7 partners.
Yes.
Would you be in a position to name the 7?
Yes. Why not? Because they were my colleagues.
Yes.
We worked together. One of them was, of course, me. Start with me.
Yes.
My name is Francis Mnyalo, as I've told you. Yes. The second person was Cyril Lazima. Cyril Chege Lazima. The third person was Stephen Njogu. The fourth person was Nurdin Isaac Aden. The fifth person was Wanjala. I can't remember the other name.
Actually, just one name.
Yes. And the sixth person was the brother. Wabuoba Walinyo Hamu. Yes.
Now, just tell us a bit about how, after you started the company, what happened next?
Many things happened. To begin with, I developed some medical condition. And before long, Smee also developed some medical condition. My medical condition is a combination of 2 things. There is something called myasthenia gravis. That is the main condition I suffer from. But I also have, or have been diagnosed to have a mild form of multiple sclerosis. Another condition related to this one in the sense that they are both autoimmune conditions. They affect the immune system of the body and the nervous response of an individual. So that is what I suffer from. Now, when Smee was brought to Eldoret, where I was working at that time as a lecturer at the university, Smee had developed a stroke, and I was called from my house to go and meet him in the hospital. In other words, we both developed medical conditions. Apart from that condition, it so happened that even Stephen Njogu also developed a similar problem. Now, my worry was, my concern rather, was that it almost happened simultaneously to the three of us. I am lucky that I'm alive today. And I'm also lucky, or rather happy, that Stephen Njogu is still alive, although completely incapacitated. He doesn't move. But it so happens that Simiyu did not live long. A few years thereafter, he died.
That was it. What was his full name?
Joseph Simiyu. Yes, engineer Sir Joseph Simiyu. He died in the year 2016. And even his death was rather mysterious. Because on the day when he died, or rather when we received the information that engineer Joseph Simiyu had died, we had just discussed with him and agreed that we would be going to commission the completely constructed plant in Mount Elgon. This plant was generating electricity. The day he was supposed to be here in the morning, we waited for him and were only shocked to receive information that the person we were waiting for was in the mortuary. The day before then, we had just talked with Mr. Smith. I personally had talked to him on phone. Although I had a problem with my speeches, I remember I still could talk understandably. And we talked until around 11 o'clock in the night. So at what time he ended up in the mortuary, I don't know. But he died on the day we were to meet here and go to Mount Elgon for the commissioning of the plant.
So Simiyu has passed on now. You are here. I mean, what happened, especially when we talk about the company? You were waiting for him, he's passed on, then maybe you can just tell us what happened.
The reason why we were waiting for Simiyu here, as I told you, is we were going to commission the plant. Because already we had developed quite a number of things, although some of those activities were taking place without me, because as I've told you, I was down. I was not able to move. And Simiyu did some of those activities without my participation. But before then, I had, as I told you, made quite some significant contribution, both financially and, do you call it brain resource? Including time resource, intellectual resource, and my time resource. I had done that. And we had developed this company to the level where it was now going to be commissioned. On the day of commissioning is the day that Simiyu died.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Then after that, now Simiyu has passed on. Of course, it meant someone had to take over as the lead person. You are right. Yes.
And that is one reason why we read foul play in Simiyu's passing on. Because immediately after Simiyu died, I'm told there were some altercations and even bitter exchanges between Simiyu's family members and his relatives, including Mr. Mahamule, whom you must be aware of.
I had a conversation with him.
Yes. What happened is that the members, the son of Mr. Simiyu, with the man I've mentioned to you as having been the driver, who was also a PA,
that was
Martin Simiyu, came here to this house of mine. Because as I told you, I was not moving. They came here, they were received by my wife, they sat in my sitting room, we even had tea, I welcomed them, with effort, I made some steps to explain to them how we had gotten to this level. And they took some documents from me. They went with them, promising, because the daughter of Mr. Smith had written to me an email stating that the father had died and that she was working out mechanisms, developments of which she would disclose to me later. So when I saw these young people, I thought that was part of it. And I accepted. By the way, they came here after the burial of Mr. Smith. They told me that they were going to work out things. I should not worry. They were going to work out some things, and they would inform me of the development thereafter. So I waited. By the way, that waiting took more than 1 year. They never came back to me. And because of that concern, luckily enough, I had started improving because my condition has been sort of like on and off. The moment I get a little better, I recall some things. So in one of those moments, I called my son, known as Kevin Wakwabubi. I called him here and gave him the full story of what had happened. I even gave him documents, most of which are on my email. I told him to go and print them out and alert and identify a lawyer to now pursue that matter. He did that. He pursued the matter through a lawyer who eventually, by the way, turned out to be corrupted by Martin. And the reason why I got to that point is because the lawyer called me here to tell me that I should not pursue the matter of getting the company back. I should rather accept to be given compensation, to be compensated out of the company, even if it were you. Because my question to him was, my son, when I sent you, or the instructions you were given, what were they? Were they that you go and ask for compensation for me, or get back my company? He said, I know what I was told, but I'm just asking you, would you like to pursue the matter of getting the company or getting compensated? I said, I thought the instructions were very clear. Whoever wants to compensate me, in what capacity does he want to do that? Or even me whom he wants to compensate. He's compensating me as who? Who am I to be compensated? First of all, let's agree. Let me get back my company. Then if compensation is to be discussed, let that come as a step thereafter. You got me? Yes.
So you seem to be now fighting for the company.
Yes.
This team that is coming, including Martin
and Chris.
Chris.
Who is Simiu's son.
Oh, Chris is Simiu's son.
Yes.
So Simiu's son was on Martin
with Martin Wamalo and Nyongesa.
Martin Wamalo and Nyongesa.
Yes.
The issue of the lady had now they were working together with Martin Nyongesa against you. Now, where were the other partners? Nordin, Jogu?
It so happened, I learned this later, that both Cyril and Nordin had made attempts to pursue the matter of recovering the company on their own as two partners. They had not involved. What I had done is I had called Simiu's brother, because as I told you, I couldn't move. So he had to come here. He came with the sister.
The brother is called?
Brother called Walinywa Wabova Mohamule.
Oh, okay. And the sister?
The sister is called Margaret. Well, I just know her as Mohamule. Margaret Mahongo.
So you called them here?
They came here, I explained it to them, but what came out was not very pleasant initially. What Wabova told me is that he feared to get himself involved in family matters, because apparently word had moved around within the family circles that Wabova was one of the potential intruders and he had nothing he had done. Maybe on that issue, let me just explain to you.
Yes.
I had asked you before the start of this interview. The becoming a director of any company, is there a legal requirement that necessarily requires you to produce money as a contribution to becoming a member? Thank you very much. Because contributions to the formation of a company can be in very many ways, including even just being a relative. But in this particular case, I remember Wabova had done a lot for the survival of this company. The MP of Mount Elgon, where this plant is, the current one, he was the MP at that time, and he's still the current MP. He had reached out to a number of locals there, and they had gathered some people to resist the establishment of that plant in Mount Elgon, unless there was a membership that was coming from his side. So we met in a hotel in Nairobi, and to avoid this controversy from going on, Wabova called us out and said, how much money have you contributed to the formation of this company so far? I remember we agreed with Mr. Simiyu that the amount of money we had contributed as of that time was 285 million. He left it at that and went back to ask the MP, do you want this company to go on or not? And they said, unless we are involved, we will not let it go on. Then he said, do you have 285 million? You pay these people, they leave this company for you. And that was the end of the matter. We stopped at that. The issue was not pursued anymore. We went ahead and developed the plant.
So
now that was a major contribution, you must agree. Because if it was not for Wabova, probably that company would not be there. So directorship into a company does not necessarily depend on financial contribution. Although in my case, there was a lot of direct financial contribution, and I have documentation to that effect. Yes.
Okay, so you say this 285 million was now individual contribution, or rather shares per partner?
No.
Yes. Of the total sum.
We had not even discussed the sharing, the share distribution.
Yes.
It is the money we had contributed to set up the company.
Okay.
The share distribution was another issue, and I'll give you more details thereafter. But that money is the money we had spent on, first of all, the purchase of land, which the MP had incited the owners to inflate by nearly 10 times, more than 10 times, by the way, in that area. To purchase I think there were 6 or 8 acres, which cost us quite a fortune. Apart from that, the issue of conducting a feasibility study was also very expensive. Now we had other things that required us or to do before we could own the company. or rather own that particular establishment. These things included going and checking out with the Warma people, with the NEMA people, with the EPRA people, with even the ministry to get what you call the EOI, expression of interest. It's all, by the way, it was a lot of money. That is how the 285 million was arrived at.
In personal contribution per partner?
Not per partner, for all of us,
for all of you,
to get to that point.
Okay.
Yes.
Now I get it. So now Martin Nyongesa and Simi's daughter partnered. The squabbles now begin.
Yes, yes.
How did it fail?
As I told you, we got suspicions about the death of Simi. Because Martin Nyongesa, after having come from here, the 1 year which I told you elapsed before I engaged, I asked my son to engage a lawyer. Within that period, they had worked out a mechanism of changing the directorship and the ownership of the company from our names to names of other people we didn't know. Some of whom I've never met, by the way. I was shocked to hear that there was a name of somebody called Samuel Kangao. I had never met him. Maybe if he became a contributor or somewhere became known to the company, that was without my knowledge. But later on I learned that he was a consultant to a financial company that was to finance the project, the establishment of the project. There before, I must tell you, we had visited Kenya Commercial Bank and met with the directors of Kenya Commercial Bank, who had given us very clear instructions, because according to them, they had never done a project like this, financing an IPP, an independent power producing company. So they didn't have any idea what would go into it. So to avoid the risk taking, because we were not asking for little money, we wanted 1.3 billion from the bank. Now, to avoid that risk taking, they asked us to identify another person that would come in as a partner. They called him a risk partner, with whom they were willing to share the risk, so that when they invest the 1.3 or something thereabout, there was somebody else to share the risk of that money, so that the loss would not just be to one person. They would have some other person also chasing after us. Unfortunately, we did not get that risk partner immediately. We tried AFC, not AFC, this international finance company, what do they call it? IFC. Yes, we tried them. They also could not take that risk. We went to Stanchart and met with the directors again. Now, that is where I left the matter. It's me. I could no longer pursue it because I could not move anymore. I went down and I left SMU. By the way, we had identified 2 potential risk partners or equity partners. They had not come on board. Apparently, SMU got the cooperative bank to now agree to finance the project. What the terms were, I don't know. I don't know because I don't want to disclose now. I only got to know that they were the financiers after I got up. I recovered a bit. Yes.
Okay. So you are put down by this condition for about
not 1 year. I told you I've had this condition for nearly 15 years.
No, but there was this time when you were down.
Yes, when I was down, that was more than, I think, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So this Simiyu now, what exactly, apart from changing the partnership, rather the shareholders and the directors, did they continue with the commission of the plant and now its operation?
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. They went ahead because the plant did not require much, by the way. Already all the nitty-gritties were in place. So they went ahead, formalized the arrangement with the equity partner who had been identified then, and they commissioned the plant. As we speak now, the plant is running, and it has been running for the last six years after the commission. I want to believe that we have been lucky. God has granted us that grace, because for the last 6 years we have not experienced serious droughts that could have minimized or rather reduced the amount of water flowing in the river, and therefore that would have minimized the power output from the plant. Yes.
So visited the plant itself?
Yes, I've been there. I've been there. Although when I went, apparently Martin and the group had already issued instructions. In fact, I went there in the company of the police officers who wanted to verify that indeed the plant I was complaining about was in existence. So we went there with the police officers, and apparently Martin had wind of our visit. So he had instructed the workers there not to allow us access into the company. We did, although we got to the plant, but we never got inside.
Okay.
Yes.
Up to now, you've never.
No.
No. Okay. And I got wind that one of the persons who are purporting to be the directors have been arrested.
Yes.
Can you tell us something?
By the way, thank you for asking me that question. As I've told you, by the way, maybe I need to also have qualified for this, but I'm particularly a happy man. I'm beaming with satisfaction and appreciation for the police, because when the news of the arrest of one of the fraudsters reached me, I could not believe it. Trust you me, for many years I've been, although I'm not fully recovered, but from the moment I started showing signs of recovery, for many years, for those years, we've been trying to get some action, some activity taking place, and nothing could move. Apparently, the fear of even the police officers was to rub their shoulders, to rub some people the wrong way. They are masters of impunity in this country, believe you me. And I attribute this change of spirit to the current government. I actually think that because of the change of government, it has been possible now to arrest the culprits.
The hustler government.
The hustler government. Because I believe even the police now have the courage to do what is right without having to look back and fear that their actions would have some repercussion.
But still, I'm meant to understand, Ikwe has always been this, like the switchboard of the county. So we get information here and there.
Okay.
I'm also meant to understand that there are very powerful people, including governors, who have made phone calls to the police and trying to get this person out. I don't know whether you are aware of that.
I had that information.
Yes.
In fact, when it was disclosed to me, I was not surprised, because we have not managed to get away from the culture of nursing impunity. People still believe that authority goes with some misbehavior.
So
You don't necessarily have to obey the law so long as you are the authority.
So who is this that was arrested?
The person who has been arrested, I'm told, I just got that information.
You've not visited?
I've not, I cannot. As you see me, by the way, even when I'm walking, the most I can do is to walk in my compound. I don't have the ability even. My car broke down, it's in the garage. With it, maybe I could have gone. But the information I got is that only one of them was arrested by the CID.
Okay, it's called, isn't it?
I'm not very sure, but I believe it's the person I've been thinking he is, because the arrest warrant was issued for 3 people. One of them was Martin Wamalwa Nyongesa. The other one was Catherine Nabuide, daughter of Smith. The third one was for somebody called Samuel Kangao. Now that I know that it is not Catherine, and I also know that it is not Wamalwa, because I'm told Wamalwa is resting somewhere in either in a hotel or in a hospital in Mombasa. So it can't be him. It has to be somebody else. And since I know that the person arrested was not a woman, it was a man, that only
Kangata
leaves one option. Kangao. That is the only option that is available. Yes.
Yeah, and so to say, my information is that is the person arrested.
Yes.
So, what are your prayers? What are your prayers?
Before I tell you my prayers, we have all along been wishing that the government would actually do the right thing by reinstating us as the genuine owners of the company. But before then, some things have happened. Samuel Kangao and Martin Nyongesa have spent a lot of money of the company. That company, sorry to tell you, generates 5.2 megawatts. And as I told you, we have been lucky that over the past 6 years, we have not had a serious drought in this region that has affected the flow of water in the river, which could have minimized or reduced the amount of electricity produced. So on average, we have been expecting above 300 million shillings made per year by the company. Now, if that company has been making that amount of money, we would wish to know what the money has been doing over those years, what it was spent on, who spent it, and how he spent it, why he spent it. So our prayer would be one. First of all, that the spirit of impunity must be brought to an end, where people use some unscrupulous means to gain other people's properties. If indeed these people are genuine, I would wonder why it would be so difficult for them to appear before court. Because as I told you, the first summon by court, a high court here, was in May 2021. In other words, they should have already come and answered or taken plea. But for more than 1 year, they have been appealing and counter-appealing so that they delay the process. My question would be very simple. Why, if you are innocent, would you resist the effort by the police for you to go and answer a charge before a judge? Why don't you tell the judge that you are innocent, so that the judge, who is the only person mandated to make that decision, makes the decision that indeed you are innocent or that you are guilty? Going by what has been happening, it looks like somebody already feels that is guilty, and therefore they have been trying to evade the hand of justice. That is my concern.
Okay.
My prayer,
yes,
as we talk now, is that may justice be done. I want to get back the company, and then, by the way, anything else should move from there. And as we get the company, let's get to know where the money went and what it has been used on. Yes.
There was this concern about this man called Martin Wanyonyi.
Martin
Nyongesa, sorry.
Yes.
Who was Martin Nyongesa before Joseph Simiyu passed on?
Martin Nyongesa was hired by Simiyu after Simiyu had come to ask me whether it was okay that we would have Martin Nyongesa. Martin Nyongesa was hired as a driver, and then later on made the personal assistant to assist Simiyu with the activities of the company. So, in short, he was a driver come a PA of Simiyu, not of the company. By the way, going back to what I said there before, we have a lot of suspicions about the death of Simiyu, because immediately the day Simiyu was to come here, he had put all the company documents together into the vehicle. Incidentally, those documents disappeared, and they were the ones that were used to change the directorship of the company. Now, there was only one person who could have done that, the driver come PA, who had access to all those documents.
Okay. So what is the name of the company again?
Arraigned Terem Small Hydropower Plant.
It is located
in Bungoma County, Mount Elgon sub-county, on Teremi River.
So I heard you said you used to be a lecturer?
Yes, I was.
So maybe you can just tell us about your background. Kidogo tu.
Journalist. Well, I am a chemical engineer. I'm an engineer, a chemical engineer. I started my teaching at the university in 1988, February, as a tutorial fellow in Moi University. And I taught in the Department of Wood Science, where I had been hired, Wood Science and Technology, for nearly 4 years. In 1991, towards the end, I was appointed to go and start the Department of Chemical and Process Engineering in Moi University. Then it was the only department at university level offering chemical engineering. In other words, I would even say I'm the father of chemical engineering in Kenya. I gave birth to it. Yes.
That's good enough.
Thank you.
Okay. So maybe if you have anything else you would like to add?
I'm very grateful, as I said. The only thing I would like to add is I'm very grateful to the Kenya police for having shown the level of courage that they have shown as of now. We are happy that eventually the rule of law is actually coming to become a reality. Some of us, by the way, my colleagues, like I told you, Nuruddin, and I know Njogu is down with the health conditions, but Nuruddin had almost lost hope that this process would ever yield something sensible. So with the arrest of Samuel Kangao, this process has been given a new lease of life. There is a possibility that we could actually get justice where it is deserved.
So yes. As it stands now, have you sued them as agreed partners? Are you working together with Akina Nuruddin?
This case is in two parts. The first part is the criminal part. The criminal part comes in the sense that certain individuals used forgery to change the documents. And that is not my case. That is a case that is being pursued by the Kenya police. Cases of forgery are not for me. The second part of this case is now the civil case, and that is where I come in. As an individual, I intend that as soon as the charges are read to the culprits, to the fraudsters, I will move with speed to now file a civil suit. The civil suit will be seeking a number of things, but some of them would be actually to put the company under receivership so that the financial activities of the company are not in the hands of thieves and fraudsters, but they are run actually by a body that will be mandated or rather identified by the court. That is number one. Number two, I want to sue these people so that, I said many things, but the other thing that needs to be mentioned now is the court must sanction the process of me and my colleagues recovering back our company. There are many other things that we want as of now, but those are the two main ones which I need to mention right now.
Wow, that was it. I'm here with Mzee Opar. As you heard him, he's a complainant. He has a court case. Rather, he has reported his concerns to the police, and one of those people who he has reported has been arrested. So we are waiting to see whether the police are going to arrest the other two. But then again, I think, Mzee, you need to take your security very seriously.
I'm aware of that. As you can see, my compound is secure.
Yes.
And when the need arises, I get some security men around here.
It's very important.
Yes, I'm covered.
Because from what I've heard, right from the death of other partners, mysterious death, and you see even him, he was down for some time, and that is when things happened. So we are saying let the police do their work, and as ikuwe sisi tutakuwa tunawaletea updates vile zinakuja. Naona tumeanza na hii, but this is our maiden interview. There are two things we want to hit. We want to, first of all, as we strive to give the people information, we also want to shape our government. We normally do publications, print, online. We have a website called ikuikwe.com, which we are also going to publish this story. Then we have a YouTube page, we have a Telegram page, channel, and Twitter as well. So this information is going to land on all those platforms, so that the public out there should know. Our third pillar is information, and you'll be sure that Ikue will do exactly that. We'll be sharing with you information as and when it happens. So thank you very much. This is yours, Edward Simiyu, aka Edu Ikue. Thank you very much. Come on.
Grateful. Thank you.
And may you, we wish you a quick recovery.
Amen.